I'm Corbett Wall with DV Auction, here with your feeder flash for Wednesday, August the 18th, brought to you in part by Vitalix. Vitalix is committed to leading the way in how controlled, consistent nutrition is delivered to almost all species of livestock. Get the blue tub, go to Vitalix.com. I got to start out and tell you guys how blown away I was by all the well wishes for my birthday on Tuesday. I found myself guilty. I don't send messages on birthdays much anymore because it seems redundant and it's not that big a deal. And if you're looking at social media all the time, you think, oh boy, why do that? But then I forget, it does make you feel good to know that somebody goes out of their way to type you a message or wish you a happy birthday, and it was very humbling, the number that I got, and I was trying to keep up with them. My share birthday was one of my mentors, Kenny Wilcox, the world champion auctioneer, and I noticed he said I was going to stay on top of responding to all those, but they just got too much and I couldn't do it. And boy, was he right, I couldn't do it either. Couldn't respond to all the well wishes for my birthday, but I want to thank everybody that did, and I'll try to do better about doing that myself in the future. But it's always nice to reminisce about when you were born, and I talked to my mother about that, and she always tells me every year when we talk about it that I was born on a Thursday morning, and that morning early, her and my dad got up early, and because they knew it was getting close. But she thought she was good and wasn't going to need to go to the hospital right away. So my dad went to Clayton. We lived in Clayton, New Mexico. He went out to Clayton to the Five States Livestock Sale Barn, the one my granddad built, but had long since sold. But he had bought some trading cattle out there on Wednesday, because the sale's always on Wednesday since the beginning of time in Clayton. He'd bought some trading cattle, and he went and loaded them up and took them out to his pens, and by the time he got them squared away and got back to the house, she was about to pop. And so they jumped in the car and headed out for Dalhart, because my mother had lost a baby previously in Clayton's hospital, and they had always said they weren't going back to that Band-Aid stand to have a baby. So I went to Dalhart, so I got to be born a Texan even though we lived in New Mexico. But she said Dad didn't hang around long that day, because that was Thursday, and of course the old sale in Dalhart where the Alco was built there on the main drag, it was on Thursday, and he had to go get a box of cigars and run out to the sale in Dalhart to tell everybody that he had had a boy. So I'm not sure where I got this passion for this cattle auction industry and this marketing of cattle, but I think it come pretty honest. And I love giving you guys these reports every day, and I got a pretty good following, and then I like that you guys find some value in it. But I've talked enough about myself. The fall is in sight, guys, and I know we're still sweltering in heat in some places, but it's almost looking like we're going to have an early fall. You get to places that don't even have that much elevation, and it's starting to get pretty darn cold at night and early in the morning. Talking to my friend Jim Felton up in Montana, and he says, hey, we're wearing coats up here, guys. It's cold, in the early morning and overnight, and even just over here in the edge of New Mexico, the temperatures are really cold at night and early in the morning, and not getting too darn warm in the heat of the day. And you can just start feeling it in the air. You can start feeling it. You can start seeing it in the trees and things like that, that fall is coming on. And we're pretty much done with all of our summer yearlings on the big videos this week, mostly selling fall delivery calves. And we're just moving, we're transitioning from the summer into the fall. Let's talk about your board. On Tuesday, August live cattle down 22 cents at 123.30. October down a buck at 128.12. Go on your back months of live cattle down 65 cents to up just a nickel. August feeder cattle down 62, 156.57. September down $1.07 at 160.92. your back months of your feeder cattle down 32 to down to $1.30. You think, man, why is everything down? All your commodities were quite a bit cheaper on Tuesday, and somehow they figured out a way to make this Afghanistan debacle go into your agriculture commodities, and it mostly has to do with those effects on our dollar. But what a mess in Afghanistan, right? Can you imagine that we spent 20 years over there losing lives and spending bukus of money trying to prop that deal out just to kick the legs out from under it and watch it tumble? You know, I'm not sure either one of them was right, but I tell you what, they sure got a mess over there, and watching those desperate people, it's hard to watch. Your fat cattle trade on Tuesday, we did have some trade, and it was established quite a bit higher in the northern plains, like $3 to $4 higher than the bulk of the trade in the northern plains last week, and starting to get a little bit of volume. Iowa sold 3,600 head on Tuesday, live sales at 127. That doesn't sound too awful bad. You know, we've been talking about this 130, and we've been seeing it on the futures board and all this kind of stuff. And I've been telling you guys, I don't think we'll ever get to 130, and I'll have to see it to believe it. I still say that, but when you start trading them at 127, at least you think there's a chance. Dress sales in Iowa at 204. Nebraska 800 head, 4,200 head for the week in Nebraska, and the live sales in Nebraska on Tuesday were 127. That wasn't as good as the big string that they sold Monday at 128.75, but still quite a bit higher than the bulk of the trade last week. I want to show you one of the new reports that they just come out with last week, but your National Weekly Net Price Distribution report there. The daily report that shows the formula base doesn't tell me a whole lot, but I like to look at this weekly net price distribution. And we, you know, last week I told you that the biggest volume at the best prices was still negotiated cash. Well, we didn't hardly have any volume this past week. So on your live basis, which is not the bulk, but on your live basis sales on this report, the lack of volume caused your negotiated cash to be the lowest of the four ways to market cattle, you know, out of your feedlots. So you look at that, and you listen for the prices on your live net sales of cattle last week. Negotiated cash trade was 123.26. Formula was 124.29. Forward contracting, of course, we're on an up market at 125.67, and negotiated grid just a pinch better than negotiated cash at 123.43. So when you don't sell any cattle to speak of negotiated, then that hurts your net price of the negotiated in comparison to your other ways to sell cattle. But on a dress basis, it was still way higher than any other. Your negotiated dress sales were way higher than any of your other forms of selling cattle. Dress sales net price last week, $200.21. They were the only ones even close to $2 a pound. Your formula net dress sales last week, $196.68. Forward contracts, and we noticed this last week on the first report, they are way back behind, and I think that has to do with these long-term deals and how they have to put those in, the sweetheart deals on a long-term basis. But 191.23 last week on your forward contract net sales. Negotiated grid was 197.67. So anytime you negotiate, and if you have some volume, then you're going to get better prices. But look at this chart, and it's a little bit hard to read, but I think you can kind of gather. USDA puts this out on the report, but as you can see, much more volume, and this is their formula net sales here. You can see much more volume in your formula sales on here, but it's spread out. Your formula net prices are spread out. Negotiated was much more concentrated near the best of the bulk prices right there. So, everybody cusses negotiated cash. Nobody wants to do it, and I think it's just because they're lazy. They don't want to do it, and it's just so much easier to write those contracts for long term, then you don't have to deal with it day to day to day. But I tell you what, those old crusty guys that are still doing it, God love them. Every week they start getting a little gruffer as the week goes on. They chew on a cigar and spit, and then they make ugly faces when the Packers come in with their bids, which don't amount to much, and they start asking for more. It's the only way we'll ever gain any ground in this market. Whenever almost all of your sales are based off last week's market, how the hell do you ever gain a buck? It's impossible is what it is. So you're leaning on just a few guys that are negotiated and asking more for cattle. Your sale at Stockman's Livestock in Yankton was just about steady. It traded at a big premium last week, but just about steady. So it was good that we saw some gains in your live direct sales, and well, not so much in your live, but in your dressed sales on a direct basis last week. Let's talk about what else is going on. They're Gelbvieh and Balancer type bulls. I tell you what, they're a pretty good deal to get into. If you want to put some stretch on these cattle and you want to, give them a frame that they can hang some carcass on there. But, they've been a sponsor here from us from time to time. But Gelbvieh and Balancer bulls are an awful good addition to a crossbred hybrid vigor in your herd. You ought to consider that. They've got a lot of sales coming up. A lot of them will be on dvauction.com. Go on there and shop and consider getting you some Gelbvieh and Balancer bulls. Let's talk about your feeder cattle markets, and I want to talk about the video that was going on Tuesday. In the Monday-Tuesday sale, it's over now, your Western video market sale out of Cheyenne. Now, the Superior sale will be going on here the rest of the week, but they didn't have any of their sales posted up there on their website, so I couldn't pull anything off, and I was busy all day Tuesday. But Western video market sales, they were selling calves darn high too. I told you about how good the yearling deal was, which we knew it'd be good on program yearlings, but also on the calves. I want to tell you about the Battle Mountain Ranch. And that's in Savory, Wyoming, so that wouldn't have been too far from where the sale was happening there. But they had some program calves, but off the cow, so unweaned ball and calves did have their vaccinations. Of course, they're non-hormone treated, which that ain't that hard on unweaned calves. Natural, is verified, but that ain't too hard to do either. They were GAP 4, so they did go through the hoops to get that. A lot of you guys that are raising good high quality calves can achieve that. A lot of you can. It doesn't take that much extra work to do. Don't be afraid of it. There's real premiums out there, guys, and I think you guys should pay attention to them and realize that it just you could probably have them, next year. You can have some program calves. Just get in there and ask some guys about it. And find out what it takes to do it. A little bit of record keeping. Maybe let somebody come out there and kind of, look around at your operation, tell you on a few things that you could tweak just a little bit to become approved, and then you could start having these program calves. But Battle Mountain Ranch, Savory, Wyoming, 230 head of program ball and steer calves, 490 pounds. For 1st of October delivery, bring $216. Now, wouldn't that be worth it, guys? Let's talk about your sale barns. We got a new sale barn that's going to be broadcasting and going to be having their first sale today here on Wednesday. And it's at Wright County Livestock in Mountain Grove, Missouri. And you think, well, hell, Wright County Livestock, Mountain Grove, Missouri, they've been there for 100 years. Yeah, I used to go to the sale there too, at Wright County. But they had sold that probably 20 years ago, or maybe more. Time gets away, but I used to go to the sale there all the time. They had a hell of a good market. My buddy Dave Smith reported it, and I always like to go check on him. And so we would go to that sale there at Wright County all the time in Mountain Grove, well, they'd end up selling that, and then it ended up ceasing to be a livestock auction, and they ended up pretty much just tearing the whole place down. Well, some families that got back involved that were in it before, namely the Thompson family, which they're iconic auction people in Missouri, especially southern Missouri, south central Missouri. They got a sale barn over in Salem, Missouri. It's kind of in the mountains there a little bit, and not as in a good a location as what Mountain Grove is. But they've spent a lot of money. They know what they're doing. They've got a first-class operation there, Mountain Grove, Missouri, and they have again called it Wright County Livestock. We've got some guys in there my buddies work with, and they got set up on Tuesday, going to be broadcasting their first sale, and it will be every Wednesday broadcast on dvauction.com. We're going to be getting the market information from them. Going to be talking a whole lot more about Wright County Livestock, Mountain Grove. Go on to dvauction.com on Wednesday here and check out the sale and new facility and check out their market, and I think it'll be interesting to see what happens there. But your real-time index on DV Auction late in the day on Tuesday sitting at 154.60. That was up a quarter compared to the previous day. Some of your big sales on Tuesday: Ozarks Regional Stockyard, South Central Missouri, there are 3,000 head, had another 300 head on the in-house video. Market was called steady to $3 higher. Got several quotes to give you from some other sales around the circuit. How about Denny Rezac Livestock Commission, St. Mary's, Kansas? They had a lot of strings, and they're cleaning up the yearlings up there. And look at these 8-weight strings or load lots and bigger that they sold at Rezac Livestock Commission in St. Mary's on Tuesday. And they were all weighing 8 to 850 pounds with a price spread from 154.35 to 163.50 on some that just weighed a pinch over 8. How about my buddy Kyle Lehman up there in North Platte, Nebraska? North Platte Stockyards had a big quote there. 120 head of steers weighed 935 at 156.50. They had big doings at the main flagship location of Bluegrass Stockyards in Lexington, Kentucky on Tuesday. They had their big annual roundup sale. Had 1,800 head plus there, 18 straight loads of cattle in the barn, another 20 loads on their in-house video there. They do those with DV Auction also. And then look at this report here. And a lot of times I shy away from pulling a regular market report from an Eastern type sale because you get a lot of smaller groups and you can't tell that much by it. But when you had lots of loads of feeder cattle in there like they did at Bluegrass Lexington on Tuesday, you can go to your biggest volume weight groups like I do on the Western sales and tell quite a bit. How about 327 head of the 7-weight steers averaged 746 at 151.26. How about 350 head of 8-weight steers averaged 847 at 150.91. And then 222 head of 9-weight steers averaged 949 at 142.56. That sounds awful good, especially standing in the ring in Lexington, Kentucky. How about a sale up there that's always a premium type sale on Tuesday? Kimball Livestock Exchange in Kimball, South Dakota. You look at these quotes here on some bigger strings of cattle that they sold, and there's 3 in there that I want to mention. 54 head weighed 708 at $172. 65 weighed 856. These would be steers at 162.25. And 101 steers in Kimball, South Dakota weighed 1,017 pounds at 146.25. But the best quote that I saw anywhere in your Zactran top quote for the day come out of Gordon Livestock Market in Gordon, Nebraska. 59 head, 917 pound steers bring 160.10. And that's your feeder flash for Wednesday.